Hello everyone, thank you for having me and thank you to the Midwifery Society for inviting me to come along today. My name is Cheryl and I'm the Improving Bereavement Care Manager at SANS. I'm just going to talk you through today some of the projects we're working on, and I'll give that a little bit of context before I go into them. So, now we've had quite a lot about the statistics this morning from Jackie at the RTM, so I won't talk too much about it. But I just wanted to bring it up again because I find these statistics absolutely horrifying every time I see them. And I think it's important to look at this number and not just see 15, not just see the 1 and the 5, but to see the families that are around that number as well. To think about the 15 mums, the partners, the dads, the siblings, the grandpops and the nannies and the aunties and uncles. There's a lot of people that are being impacted by this 15. So I just want to remind everyone that yes, it's a statistic, but it's also individual families, individual lives, and a great deal of impact. So that's where SANS comes in. For anyone that doesn't know SANS, we're the Stillbirth and Neonatal Death Charity, and we have 3 core aims. One is to support anyone affected by the death of a baby. The second is to improve bereavement care. And the third is to promote research to reduce the number of babies dying. So the core aim I'm going to focus on is the one that I manage, which is improving bereavement care. So essentially what my job is to make your job easier. So my whole working life, and the working life of my whole team, is to help you and to support you in delivering good care for parents when a baby dies. And let's look at why that is important. This is a picture of Michelle Buckley, who's given us permission to use this image. This was just before her due date. And it just goes back to the idea of the expectation. The idea of, for many women, not all women, but for many, when they see that blue line or the pink dot or the pregnant 1 to 2 weeks or whatever it is you get now, often they're conceptualising a full-term healthy baby. They're not thinking about cells multiplying or, all these sorts of things. They're thinking about, do I need to move to a bigger flat? Where's baby going to sleep? How am I going to tell my boss I was going for that promotion? Oh, I might be on maternity leave with Joe down the road. So all of these things are starting to come into place. Like I said, not for all women. And again, this image is of Michelle and her husband with their baby Louis, who died sadly during labour. But just to reiterate that they go from that potentially expectation, all of those hopes and dreams for the future, to nothing. And it can be absolutely devastating. As Chris was saying earlier, it is devastating, but it can be made more manageable by good care. And that's why we're here today, to help you deliver good care. So this is a quote from a father who contacted SANS last year, and I just wanted to put it up because I wanted to highlight the impact that good care has. Now this father, his baby girl was stillborn the day before he sent us this email. And he was emailing us to say thank you, which I find absolutely incredible. And I know this isn't saying, oh, thank you to the midwife and thank you to the healthcare professionals, but I'm just wanting to reflect back to you the impact that good care has. Because it's not very often that a healthcare professional can say, can get that feedback. You can't say, how did I do? Am I doing well? But these are the stories that we're hearing from parents, that healthcare professionals are doing well, that they are getting good care, and it is making a big impact. So this father was given time with his baby to create memories, to spend time, to take some photographs, and he wanted to say thank you. So they do take home those memories of good care, and it does make a difference on their experience. This is Nancy Koner and Ali Lethwich. Oh no, it's not, it's Nancy Koner and Henley. It's quite an old quote, but I think it still resonates and I think it's still important. You cannot take away the pain. You can't take away the grief. And it's important that you have that. Because if you think that's your aim and if you think that's your goal, you're not going to think you're doing a very good job. But you are. You can't take that. That's theirs, and they will go home with it. But what you can do is create some good memories. You can make it a more bearable experience, and that's your job, to help them create positive memories at a devastating time. So I'm just going to talk you through how we are trying to improve bereavement care across the UK. So I'm going to start with 3 core projects, and then if I haven't run out of time and if I haven't had a wave from the front, I'll then talk you through a few more that I've tagged on to the end. So the first one is the audit of the provision of bereavement care. Then we have the guidelines for professionals, and I'm not talking about each as I list them because I will have several slides about each of these. And then we have the National Bereavement Care Pathway. So the audit and the guidelines are both completed, and the bereavement care pathway is still underway, so that's why they're underlined. The guidelines for professionals is a substantial book, I'm not going to lie, it's quite large, but it is a go-to reference book. It has information in there that should hopefully help you in practice. So it's a book that you can go to and you can look up registration, or you can look up post-mortem, or you can look at disposal, and it should give you the information you need to do your job well. It is available as an EPUB, and it's also available as a PDF because of its size, largely, but it has optimised search functionality, so you can search for a word and it should pop up everything that's relevant. So it hopefully is a really useful resource. And what I like about this resource is when I go on site visits and I go to hospitals and I see it on the shelf, it's always dog-eared and it always has post-it notes or paper clips sticking out of it, and that's what I like to see. We don't want this book to be sat on a shelf looking pretty. We want it to be used, we want it to be dog-eared. So just about that document, around 60 individuals helped us put that document together. So it isn't me and my team sat in the back office making this stuff up. It's evidence-based, it's full of research, it's full of statistics, and we've had, like I said, around 60 people from different areas and from different specialties informing this book. So we've reached out to a lot of different people. Each chapter went to several different people to make sure that all of the information in there is the most up-to-date information that there is. And as you can see, it's been endorsed by now 22 organisations, because the Scottish Government have now endorsed it as well. But it's good to see Royal Colleges and charities backing that product. This was the review from the Practising Midwife magazine. Just thought I'd throw it in so it wasn't me just saying, oh, it's a really helpful book. This is someone else saying it as well. But the last sentence here I particularly like. If we can get the care right for the most vulnerable women, then we will be getting it right for everyone, and I think that's key. So for anyone that is familiar with this, you'll know that there was a 3rd edition from 2007. This one was published in 2016, last year. So there has been substantial updates throughout, but there are also new chapters, including receiving feedback from parents and mental health. Termination for fetal anomaly was always in the book. Well, it was in the 2007 edition, but we've added on the maternal medical conditions as well. But like I said, there have been substantial updates throughout. What's important about the guidelines for me is that it doesn't sit independently. It's not one reference book and that's it, off you go. That isn't all that we're providing. It comes as a kind of package of resources for healthcare professionals. As I said, it's my job to make your job easier. So hopefully we do that with the resources that we produce. So we have on our website a section called Resources for Healthcare Professionals. If you click on that, you'll see lots of certificates and forms. So there's a certificate on there for babies born before 24 weeks. That certificate is available for mums and dads, for single mums, for single dads, for mums and mums, and for dads and dads. And we're now looking at doing parents and parent to include the transgender community. So we do have those certificates. We have other forms and certificates as well to help promote choice. It's worth having a look, but I'll leave you to do that on the website. As Heidi mentioned earlier, there's also teardrop stickers and guidance around how to use those. The principles of bereavement care. I won't read through all these because you've got a lot of it in your packs, so you should have some handy-sized takeaways with you. So this is the audit that we carried out last year. So in 2010, we carried out a bereavement care report that looked at a snapshot of what care looked like in 2010. And since then, there hadn't been more up-to-date research on it or more up-to-date data. And it was being requested and it was obviously in demand. So we carried out this audit to look at what does the current picture look like? What are we currently offering parents across the UK? Now this is across the UK maternity units only. The full report is now available on the SANS website as a download. And as you can see, we had quite a good response from trusts and health boards. So this is the infographic that we produced for Baby Loss Awareness Week in October last year. And some of these statistics I found surprising. That 1 in 10 trusts and health boards have no dedicated bereavement room across the board. So there isn't a single bereavement room in any of the hospitals across the entire trust or health board. I find shocking. I don't know if you do, I hope you do. 38% of maternity units do not have a specialist midwife based there. But one of the ones I find particularly shocking is that 17% use children out of hours or an emergency to interpret for their mothers, which I find utterly inappropriate. But it's something that we've obviously got lots of work to do in that area. The statistics around training also is, in my mind, quite depressing. The amount of bereavement care training offered is very small. The amount that's mandatory is even smaller, and the length given for mandatory training is even smaller than that. So we're talking most people receiving mandatory bereavement training are receiving around an hour a year, which is astonishing. Sorry, that was really down. I should have left on an up. But we're working on it. We're getting there. We're making a difference. And we've got lots of projects that are trying to address that, including our training programme, including a lot of work we're getting onto, which I'll come onto in a bit. So it is uplifting. It is positive. But what is important is that we have that data. It's almost good that it's a bit of an eye-opener because it will get people moving, it will get people paying attention, and it will allow us to get a lot of the work done that we know needs to be done now we've got those statistics. So this is the third project that I just wanted to talk about, which is the National Bereavement Care Pathway. Now this is a project that's still in the very early days. It's Department of Health funded and led by SANS, but we're working with a core group, as you can see, quite a few charities involved, and also Royal Colleges. At the moment, we are at the stage where we've had one stakeholder meeting, and we've had one parent stakeholder meeting. So in terms of our vision, of course, it's to get rid of the inequity in care, because we know from stories from parents, from experience, but also from the audit, that there is inequity of care, not only across trust, not only regionally, but even within the same hospital, depending on which healthcare professional is on shift, essentially. So we've got to get rid of that inequity. Everyone has to be offered a certain level, a minimum level of good bereavement care. So the strategy is to engage with as many people as possible. We have healthcare professionals involved, we also have parents involved, and as I just mentioned, we've had one stakeholder meeting for the APPG group. The APPG is an all-party parliamentary group focusing on baby loss, and we've had a parent stakeholder meeting last week in London. We have another parent stakeholder meeting coming up next week in Manchester, and they're really important for us because we're capturing what parents' experiences are. We have just this week been recruiting for the project lead on this, so we haven't been able to progress as far as we had hoped when we set out on this journey, but now we are going at it full throttle. So we're hopeful that by autumn we will have a very good draft, or we will be fairly far on this project. We're feeling very confident at the moment that we're going to have a pathway developed with a lot of contribution from researchers, from clinicians, from a lot of professionals, because we're not wanting to replicate what's already out there. We know there are a lot of really good pathways. We've just finished a gap analysis on those care pathways that we've received, and we're looking to draw on the information others have and really pull it together into this one care pathway, because we want it to be used essentially. We need it to be used so that parents are offered equal good care. We're also holding learning events across the UK. So the funding, and please don't tweet this, but the funding is coming from England, so we have to initially start this in England. But because we want it to ultimately be boundaryless, we are engaging with Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland ultimately. But we're not calling them stakeholder meetings because of the funding stream. We're calling them learning events because we can learn from the devolved nations so that England benefits, but we can't have the devolved nations benefit from an English project. But there it is. But ultimately, we're hoping this is going to be across the UK. So we have already held a learning event in Scotland, and we have one booked for Wales, and we're discussing Northern Ireland as well. So it is a really positive project, and hopefully this is one of the key projects that's really going to help you in your work ultimately. So I think I've got time, so I'm going to carry on talking about a few other things that we've got on, apart from the main three. So having mentioned about the bereavement care training not being brilliant currently, I just want to flag some things that SANS have available. So SANS offers a bereavement care training day. We have a whole programme. So we have one for multidisciplinary groups, one for midwives, and also one for student midwives. At the moment in Scotland, what we've managed to achieve is to deliver a half-day training in bereavement care for every first-year student in Scotland. We've then followed that up with a one-day full training day for every third year in Scotland. So this year we would have trained every first year and third year. Last year we trained every first year and 2 out of the universities third years. So at the end of this year we would have trained every single midwifery student in Scotland, which is incredible, and it's brilliant because we know you're not getting, or I say you, we know not all student midwives are getting the experience they need or the information they need to feel confident in going out into placements. We also have midwifery teacher materials, which is the green picture at the bottom. So they are a product that were made with Middlesex University and SANS, and they are for midwifery lecturers. So if you are delivering bereavement care training or lectures around bereavement care, we have developed the package. We've developed the slides, the lesson plans, the evaluation forms, the outside speaker briefings. We've done everything so that hopefully, if they can't have a one day or a half day from SANS, they can use the material so at least the students are getting a level of bereavement education. At the moment, we have 28 universities using those across the UK. We also, as Jackie mentioned earlier, have an iLearn module that was co-written with CBUK and funded by Abigail's Footsteps, a charity in Kent. And that iLearn module is called One Chance to Get It Right, Bereavement Care. It's absolutely free. If you go onto the RCM website, go onto the iLearn module and you'll be able to access that. We are also currently writing an iLearn module with ARC, who are antenatal results and choices. We will be finishing that off in the next week or so, and hopefully we'll be going live pretty soon after that. So that would be another iLearn module that again would be free of charge around delivering difficult news. So hopefully that will help as well. And then my last one, I promise. I also just wanted to flag this last project that we're working on because I think it's an important point to make, and that is, I don't know if you're familiar with the Friends and Family test, which is, everyone's nodding so I won't explain, but essentially it's not to be given to bereaved parents. So at the moment there isn't a official way, I suppose, not quite the right word that I'm looking for, but there isn't that way of capturing parents' feedback about the care they're receiving in order for it to inform service improvements, which isn't good enough. Parents have to be asked questions like, well, that they don't have to answer them, but they have to be given the opportunity to feed into this. Of course, there are MSLCs and there are ways of getting parent feedback, but we're currently working with NHS England and the London Maternity Network to develop it's not a very catchy name, Women's Recorded Experience Measure. I know, I didn't make that one up. But essentially, it will be guidance to support people regionally. It's not going to be one block way of doing it for everyone across the UK, because it won't work like that. But it will be a regional thing initially to support people in asking for feedback about the bereavement care they've provided, so that parents have the opportunity to feed in to service improvements. So that will be launched in June this year. And hopefully, once we have that local system working, we can then look at a national system as well. But I just thought I'd flag that up with you because I think it's an important point about hearing the parent voice, essentially. My next slide is thank you, and I've not finished, so I'm not going to go on to my next slide, but I'm not talking about this. I just want to say one more thing. And again, it's something Jackie mentioned earlier. The Bereavement Care Network, you've all got a flyer in your pack, and the RCM also have this on their table. But the Bereavement Care Network is a network for bereavement care providers. It has a forum space for you to ask questions, offload, share documents. But it also has a resources page that looks a bit like that. These are the charities involved. And if you click on the logo, you should get all of the resources that that charity thinks will help you in your role. So we're just updating this. So maybe not today, click on it. But we're hoping probably 2 weeks' time, it will all be updated and brand new and look lovely. But this is free. It's hosted by the RCM website. You can log on. It's password protected. It's moderated. So it should be a safe environment for you to just go in and get as much information as you need from there. So I just thought I'd flag that before I say thank you.